If you worry about what other people think, soon enough, you will be on the sidelines of your life.
Welcome to the Millionaire Woman Show, where we'll be discussing leadership, business, human potential, inspiring you to live rich from the inside out. Unlock your creativity, stretch out of your comfort zone, break through your barriers, take inspired action, and achieve epic results. Now here's your host, three-time best-selling author, speaker, and certified executive coach, Debra Kasowski.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Millionaire Woman Show, where I bring you fabulous guests that are going to inspire, educate, and motivate you to live your life rich from the inside out. Today, my guest is Teri Ijeoma. She began her professional career working in education and nonprofits when she started trading stocks 9 years ago. She initially saw it as an opportunity to simply supplement her income. However, she was so successful with the side hustle that in 2017, she decided to quit her job, travel the world, and begin trading full time. While traveling, Teri was constantly asked to show others of how successful trading in the stock market. She set up and taught herself a class in Thailand, second in Vietnam, and then full-fledged curriculum created by the time she returned to the States. Teri now offers online curriculum that shares her investing strategies with people all over the world. She also partners with organizations and companies to train and empower individuals to achieve financial freedom and build wealth through investing. Teri received her bachelor's degree in management science from Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, and her master's in media and communications from Dallas Theological Seminary. She was named 2018 Entrepreneur of the Year by National Black MBA Association and the Grand Champion of Teachable's 2019 Creator Challenge. You can reach her on Instagram at I am an investor or online, itradeandtravel.com. Teri, I am so excited to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Deborah. I'm so excited to be here.
So tell us a little bit about your background. Your last job was in education. How did you go from that to trading?
Yes. So I actually was in education field for about 10 years. I went to MIT for undergrad, and they kind of give you two options. You can either go into Wall Street or you can go into consulting. And I interned on Wall Street, which is actually how I first started knowing about investing. I interned at Morgan Stanley on Wall Street. But I said, well, I don't want to be cooped up in a building all day, so I'm going to go into consulting. And it turns out one of our clients was Teach for America. So that led me into this whole trajectory of like, well, I want education equality for students and kids. And my last job was an assistant principal of an elementary school. But that whole time, to supplement my income, I traded on the side. So I traded and I also did real estate to supplement my income. And when I came to a point where I just didn't feel satisfied at my job anymore, and then also a friend had passed away, so I just realized life was too short, I said, you know what? I remember this Wall Street thing. I remember that I could make money with stocks. Let me see if I can use that as my exit strategy to just trade and travel full time. And that's what I did.
That sounds fascinating, because I know a number of people who would love to travel a lot. And then on the other hand, we have the trading, and I know it's been something of interest, but you open up the newspaper or you look online or you look on the app on your phone and you're like, where do you even start?
Yes.
So I know that many legendary investors like Warren Buffett, they advocate long-term buy hold strategies. But before I jump into that, I'd love for you to take us from the fear of even getting into trading.
Yes. There's a couple myths that I think really hold people hostage. So one thing when they think about investing, one myth is, oh, it's a gamble. You can't time the market, so I'm not going to do it because it's a gamble. But actually, so you think about me, like I'm coming from like a numbers MIT background. You actually can create formulas for everything. So the way that I teach my students, we actually can decide, we can figure out the probability of a trade before we even take it. And then when you know what your probability is, hey, this one's going to be 75% successful, it's not a gamble anymore. We also can put risk management things in place. So there's like orders like a stop loss. I know this words are probably going over everybody's heads, but there's ways that you can protect yourself from losing. So when you put in the right risk management things in place, and when you put in like the right formulas, it actually is not a gamble anymore. You can actually start like really making like income from your trades.
It's fascinating. I know we were talking just before we came on to this interview. Right now, the markets are having a lot of uncertainty due to the coronavirus pandemic. So even though we're recording this, I think it's important to say, you know, things happen in the world. There could be natural disaster in certain areas of the world. There could be a number of different things. How do you decrease people's anxiety around the thought of trading? And what would you recommend to them to keep that anxiety at a lower point?
Great question. So I actually have a school. I teach people how to trade. So I have like over 1,000 students in my trade and travel program, and I'm teaching them how to trade. And they're novices, just like some of the listeners on the call. So I have had every question asked to me. And I've made every mistake. So I feel like now I'm at the point where I can teach them from the places where I've made mistakes. Now I can teach them how to not make mistakes. So one myth is that you can only make money when the stock market is going up. But I will tell you the truth. You actually can make a lot of money when the stock market is going down. And people on Wall Street, it's something called shorting, if anybody wants to research that a little bit more. But you sell when the stocks are high, and then you buy it back lower, and you make money as the market goes down. So one thing I teach my students is we can make money in any situation. And that takes out some of the fear, because we know that even if it's coming down, we can actually make quite a bit of money on the way down. So that's one thing. The other thing is that risk management plan that I was telling you about. So there are ways to put an order into your computer that says, you know what, if the market goes down, I want you to get me out of everything. And that way you can save your money. When you learn how to put those type of risk management measures in place, then you don't have to be as worried, because you know, hey, if it comes down, hits the place where I want to get out, I'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
So there's different things. I think it's really about education. Once you learn and take a course, then you can know, hey, I have the skill set I need to protect myself in any market. And
That's so valuable, because I think, you know, people think that, well, when it's doing well, that's when we can really make money. Because and here's the thing that I find fascinating when you do some research, even with recession, you know, people are like, well, these industries are impacted. Well, those industries might be impacted, but suddenly, you know, other industries are doing very well.
Yes, like even now. So right now, as we're recording, people are really worried about the coronavirus. And I know like even my city of Dallas is starting to say, well, no events bigger than 500 people. Everybody has to go home, and people are starting to work from home. But just imagine, at the same time that some companies are going down, now you have like Zoom is doing really well in the market, because if everyone works from home, you need something to use to
Yes.
hold your meetings. Then we have like Teledoc is doing good. And disclaimer, I'm not giving any recommendations right now. This is just my personal experience. But there are several stocks that are doing really well at the same time that other stocks are going down. And right now, even the really great companies we're getting at a discount. So I'm super excited, because I'm like, oh my gosh, you can get Amazon half off. You can get Google half off. Like these are great things. These really great companies that were at all-time highs just a couple weeks ago are coming down into great prices. So it's actually, for a trader, and I'm someone that's like a short-term invest, day and swing trading, for someone who's making income off the market, these are actually really cool times for us.
So would you be considered like a day trader?
Yep, I day and swing trade, which means day trading is just if I get into a position. So if I get into a stock today and I sell it in the same day, that's day trading. But if I get in today and I sell it within 2 days or even a week or a couple months from now, that's swing trading. So I do both, because I'm a technical analysis trader. So I'm looking at charts, and I'm looking at where are the banks buying on the chart and where are the banks selling. And it just depends how quickly it gets from one level to the next. If it gets into a place where banks are buying today and reaches the sell point today, I'll get out in 1 day. But if it takes a couple weeks, then I'll let it stay for a couple weeks. But the overall goal is, when I was a teacher, or when I was an assistant principal of the elementary, I needed $300 a day to replace my income. And I know it sounds small when you think about it. You're like, dang, I really don't need that much money a day to replace my income. But I realized if I were to just sell or buy 300 shares that move $1 a day, well, dang, I just hit my income. There's like ways to easily with stocks replace that income. And so that's what I did.
So you're chunking things down so that they're really manageable. But I think people don't realize what is the amount that they need to replace their income, and then seeing where things can continue to cash flow into bigger things. So in your course, you have 4 main topics. Can you explain what some of those are for our listeners and viewers?
Sure. So I went from making $300 a day to $1,000 a day. And now the formula that I use to make $1,000 a day, I think you need 4 key elements. The first one is you need to learn how to pick good companies. One of the things I've seen people do is they say, well, I don't have a lot of money to trade, so I'm going to pick these real cheap penny stocks. That's the worst thing that you can do. You really should go for more healthy companies that have a good track record. You know that they're the best in their sector. Like, pick those companies. Those are the ones that will be reliable for you and actually help you make good income. Then you need to go into risk management. And that's what I've been saying about, you've got to find a way to protect yourself. A lot of people, they end up losing because they have no risk management in place. But you can prepare ahead of time. Before you even take the trade, I want you to think through, what's your quantity size? Like, how many shares you're actually buying? What's your risk tolerance? Okay, if I lose $500, I'm going to feel this type of way. Then then make sure you don't lose more than $500. So there has to be a risk management plan. And I have several things where I teach my students how to do risk management. Then I really, really believe that everyone who's serious needs to learn how to read charts. So even today, we were looking at the last few days, we've been looking at the stock market. It had come down quite a bit. But looking at a chart, we were able to say, like, hey, actually at this place, the banks bought the last time we were at this level. So we think the next time it comes here, it'll bounce back up. And just as the chart said, it did that. But I think that's really a valuable tool, learning how to read charts versus just going by your gut or your intuition, or I just feel like this is a great company. No, you need to learn how to actually read charts.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is, there's some advanced techniques that traders, like if you're a full-time trader, you may be looking at options or shorting, like I was saying before, making money when the market goes down. There's advanced techniques that I think are also like an added bonus. But if you can get those first and have like a trading plan, every time I take a trade, I do these 7 steps, then you'll be able to be successful.
Right. So it's all about having a plan instead of just, spinning around 3 times and putting a dot on a piece of paper or throwing a dart to see what you should do next. It's very intentional.
Yes, exactly. I love that word, intentional. It really is. And that's with anything that you do. I feel like if you have a plan in place, then you can kind of check. It's like a checklist. Okay, I did this. I put in my risk management. I'm actually going to take the trade now. And if you have that kind of plan, then you can be more consistent. It's when you start like just randomly, like you said, just throwing things in the wind, that you start losing or not being consistent. And then people try to throw it away like, this just doesn't work.
Yeah.
No, you have to have a plan.
Or they hear from their friend that, oh yeah, well, I invested, you should too. And then it bombs. Right?
Mm-hmm. Timing is everything. And I think one thing people don't realize is, a lot of times by the time someone tells you that this is the thing you should invest in, you miss the opportunity. That's
Yes.
why you have to learn how to read charts so that you can know in advance what to invest in.
So how does what you offer differ from other programs out there helping people learn about the stock market?
I think a couple things. One, because I come from education, one of the things I hear from my students a lot is, Teri, you're a good teacher. And I think there's a lot of programs out there, especially run by like men, and I'm not saying men are bad teachers, but like, of course, my voice will be different. So I'm like this young Black girl who's become a millionaire trading and teaching people how to trade. So my voice is just different. And what I've heard is I can make things that are really complicated very simple. So I do think that's part of it. Just the fact that you have someone who is really dedicated to teaching. And even in my slides, in my presentation, everything is very like, okay, even for the novice person, you can get this. So that's one thing that makes it different. And then two, I am a income trader. So a lot of times I think we hear that the only way to invest is like a buy and hold strategy where, you know, hey, get in now and keep it till retirement. But you can't use that money if you're just waiting for retirement. What about using it for travel and paying off debt and just having some fun sometimes? So my trading plan is, how do you make money for income? How do you supplement your income with trading stocks? So that's another thing that's a little different about me. And then I would say the last one is that risk management piece. I think is huge. A lot of times people will tell you how to trade, but they don't tell you how to protect yourself. And I really focus in a lot on how do you protect yourself from losing.
So it said about 9 out of 10 traders are not successful. How do you beat those odds and help your students do the same?
A trading plan. We briefly tapped on it before, but that consistency. So I have 7 steps in my trading plan, and it starts, we talked about a few of them, but it starts with like picking the right companies. Then we go to risk management, reading charts. Then we go into how many shares can you get? Like, it's a full-on trading plan. Having a trading plan will help you be consistent and also help you to take emotions out. Because one of the hardest things as a trader is to be, you're super emotional. And it is emotional. Like, no one likes to see their account come down. And even when it goes up, there's also emotions there because you don't want to sell. You're so excited. Oh my God, I made money today. So having a trading plan even tells you where to exit the trade. And I think that's the biggest thing that sets me apart from a lot of other traders.
Yeah, to know that there is an exit strategy when you know that things are not working out or they may change.
Yes. And even if they are working out, take your money and run so you can go to the Bahamas or something fun.
So what does it take for someone on average to get started?
I use a company called TradeStation. They're the broker that works with my students. For that company, they actually let my students join for $500. It's actually a professional brokerage. So usually you're supposed to start with a lot more money. But to open a brokerage account is $500. And then what I tell students is, I want you to first start practicing in a sim. So a sim is a fake account where you can practice with fake money, but it looks like your regular brokerage account. So as they're learning, they're going to practice in that account and they can start saving up more money. When they're good in the sim account, then I want them to go over to their real money. So the starting is $500 just to get that account open. And then our goal is 1% of our cash amount per day. Like, that's what we're teaching. Small little wins add up to big wins. And
Right.
people don't realize if you're making 1% a day, it sounds small, but in 5 months you can double your whole portfolio. But you're just going for small bite-sized wins. So if you think about it that way, whatever your goal is, say you want to make $100 a day, divide that by 0.01, and that'll tell you how much cash you want to have when you start really pushing towards your goals.
Fantastic. And you've leveraged it to afford to travel. So how has trading helped you travel the world?
Yes. So when I first quit the school, I joined this company where we were living in one city for a month at a time. So I went to I went to South Korea, Thailand, China, Japan, Vietnam. I went all over the place. And that's actually when people started asking me to teach them how to trade. So in the bio where it says I did my first class in Thailand, that was me teaching my first class in Thailand, because they were like, how are you affording this? And I'm like, oh, I'm just trading. I got my cell phone. I can trade from my phone. And so, yeah, so definitely I have been able to afford to travel from my cell phone, but not just travel. This past year, I paid off all of my student loans from trading stocks. I've paid off over $150,000 of debt from trading stocks. And then my big goal this year is to pay off my mortgage. So it's been such a blessing. And I just came back from South Africa. So I think that also is the benefit. When you're trading, you can trade from your cell phone, so you can be anywhere in the world. So I just go.
And you have the flexibility to lead the lifestyle that you want.
Yes.
Yeah. And for some, it might be just that you want to grow a side hustle that supplements, the work that you do, and grow it on the side to afford some of those other dreams that you have.
It's true. And I think people don't realize like sometimes just to free yourself up, like let's say you were getting a virtual assistant and the virtual assistant is $10 an hour and you need them eight hours a day. Well, that's just $80 a day to pay for that virtual assistant. Well, what if you had 80 shares of a stock that moved $1 a day? Well, now your stock's just paid for 8 hours of your time. And how much is your time worth? So like really, when you start thinking about it, you're like, this skill set can really open up doors to help you free up time and just give you that flexibility that you've been dreaming of.
Excellent. So you paid off debt with stocks. You've traveled with stocks. You began this side hustle. So what are the top benefits of being an active trader?
One of the top benefits is being able to see your money grow and then use that money in real time. So I know several people who are like, Teri, I've been saving for 10 years and I have this little, chunk of cash just sitting in my account, in my savings account, but it's not doing anything. And savings accounts, the interest rate is really low. So it's just been sitting there. So being able to use that money to actually buy you time or give you freedom is probably the biggest benefit. So say you had $40,000 in your account and I'm teaching you how to make 1% of that. That's $400 extra that you could use to do whatever you want with. That pays for your car payment, that pays for bills, or you can save up for that trip. And then depending on how often you want to trade, like you don't have to trade every day like I do, but if you have the skill set, whenever you're ready, you can start generating more income with that cash. So I think that's that freedom mentality is the best benefit of being an income trader, an active trader.
Yeah. And I love how you're working in increments. So for people who are just getting started, who are kind of risk adverse, that they can start small and also have a simulation environment to see how it works, to ensure that they feel comfortable with the rise and fall, or, getting that dopamine hit when things go really well.
Yes, I agree. And one of my friends told me yesterday, actually, she was like, Teri, what I love about your course is that it allows people not to feel helpless. A lot of times when someone else is trading your money and something happens in the market, you just feel like there's nothing you can do. And all you're able to do is look at the statements and you see it go down or up. But when you have a course and the education behind you, you don't feel helpless. You feel like, okay, I know what to do in this situation. And that's huge. That's priceless by itself.
Yeah. When you started paying off some of the debts as well, is there anything particular you targeted when you're doing debt relief?
In terms of stocks, or just how
you decided to pay down your debt to make it happen? Like, one, you're trading and increasing that income to be able to do so, which you ultimately could put it on anything. But are you strategic about how you're paying off your debt as well?
Yes, I'm one of those, I guess right now it's like the FIRE movement, the financially independent, retire early people. So I very much have been of the mindset that I want to just get rid of all of my debt so that all of my cash will be extra income. And so this year I had especially in terms of my student loan debt, I had about $17,000 of student loan debt left. And what I did is I said, okay, at the time, my sweet spot of trading was about $30,000. So that means $300 a day that I could make from that $30,000. So I made it a deal with myself. Okay, look, you're going to make $300 a day, which means that even if you make more than that, you're going to try to cut it off and save that income so that you can then pay it off. So what I would do is I would trade, get my $300, and then when you're trading, you're able to link it to your bank account. So I would do a balance transfer every time that I made $300 and transfer it over to my bank account. And then I'd make big chunk payments onto my student loans. And I actually ended up, it was crazy. I did one trade and ended up making $9,000 in a day. And I was like, what? So I ended up paying that off in like 2 weeks. It was less than 30 days. I won't say 2 weeks, but it was crazy. But it's just, you have to have that mindset of like, look, yes, for a little while, I'm not going to be able to go out or have fun or do other things, but I'm going to feel so much better when I reach this goal. And so I just really focused in that way.
Yeah, very, very powerful. So One of the things that I love to ask my guests is, what is one book, it could be business, personal, or both, that has really influenced the way you see things in the world or how you do things in the world?
Mm. So there's lots of books that I love, but the first one that came to mind is Who Moved My Cheese? And it's just the idea that like you can do something the same way every day, and all of us respond to change differently. But if you really want to excel, you're going to have to take some risk. You're going to have to go outside of your box, go outside of your normal routine. And I feel like that's what I did when I left the school. That was a secure job. But and then my mom was like, "What? You're going to quit your job and start traveling and trading stocks? Like what? Nobody does that." But sometimes you have to take a big leap of faith to really reach a new level in your life. So I'd say that's a big book for me.
Excellent. And also, what does it mean to you to live rich from the inside out?
I think in order to be rich internally, you have to really be comfortable with who you are as a person. And for me, there's been times in my life, even when I think about being a principal and then now what I do, there's been times where I've tried to fit into someone else's box. For a long time, I thought, well, I can't give up being an assistant principal. This is what everybody dreams of. Like I'm running a school. I'm at the top rank, and of course, for other people in the call, you're like, "What? You thought that was big? What?" but at the time, I felt like, I'm in service industry. I'm changing kids' lives. Sometimes you can feel trapped in someone else's dream for you. But when you're really comfortable with yourself, I love making money. And it's not even just for me. Like I was able to give like a six-figure check to my church this year for tithes. So like it's not even for me, but just to be able to serve in a different type of way. But when I really stepped into my personal skill sets and who I am and what makes me happy, then now my business has grown tenfold. I'm such a better trader. My joy is on 10, but I've stepped into who I am and who my actual skills are. So I think that's rich from the inside out.
And how did you deal with the doubters and any of the times that you may have even doubted yourself?
To be completely honest, like I'm a big faith and believer girl, so I just had to pray myself through, because even until probably a few months ago, my mom was like, "You sure you don't want to get a side hustle? You sure you don't want to be a substitute teacher?" And I'm like, "Mommy, I make 7 figures."
Yeah.
But she just sometimes she just couldn't fathom in the fear of, you don't have health insurance, like what, so I just really had to pray, like, "Lord, it's me and you. Like, let's do this. Like, I'm going to just step out on faith, and I hope you got me." and he has proven himself to be true.
Oh, how beautiful. How beautiful. Thank you so much. So Teri, how can others stay in touch with you?
Sure. So my website, where you can also find a free webinar, is itradeandtravel.com. So that's itrade as in stock trading, itradeandtravel.com. And there you'll find a free webinar on how I make $1,000 a day, and you can get into my course. But yeah, that's the best way to find me.
Excellent. Thank you for coming on our show. So if you were to give three points of wisdom out of everything you shared with us, or anything that we might have missed, for those thinking about trading who are already trading, what would that be?
Get educated first. Take a course. I, of course, recommend my course, my trade and travel course, but take a course, because when you just jump in without knowledge, that's when you'll start losing. So get educated. 2, don't be afraid. Investing is one of the ways that people really build wealth. Don't sit on the sidelines and watch everyone else. Like, get in. It's okay. You'll be fine. And then the other thing I would say is, just do it. It's so much fun. Just do it. It's really cool. It's a great skill set to have for the rest of your life.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Teri Ijeoma, for coming on the Millionaire Woman Show. It has been such a pleasure to have you here and share about getting into stock trading, developing a side hustle, and really having the mindset to move forward. I'd love for you to go over to the Millionaire Woman Show And on iTunes or your favorite podcast player, rate, review, give us a 5-star high five. Also, go over to my website at www.debrakasowski.com. Download your 3-part video mini course called Making Habits Stick, so you can develop with focus and consistency those habits that get the results that you want. On behalf of Teri and myself, we wish you a great day. And as Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world. Thanks, everyone.